Hi guys, so today we're going to be making a savoury cheese muffin completely from scratch. But before we do that, we go and we wash our hands. Make sure we get some soap on there. Really work it in between our fingers, our thumbs. And once we've done washing our hands, we're then going to put an apron on. But I've already got my apron on, which is good. Give them a quick dry. And then we are good to go. So I'm going to talk you through the ingredients. We've got some lovely cheese, some mixed peppers, some herbs. This is parsley and chives, some tomatoes, some sweet corn, some spring onions. We've got some mushrooms. We've got 2 dessert spoons of natural Greek yoghurt. We've also got some lovely seasonings over here. We've got our mustard powder there. We've got some lovely spring onions that we've chopped up. Our tomatoes. So we've got a sharp knife here and a chopping board for any of the ingredients that we've just talked about. We've also got a timer for when we go and put our lovely recipe in the oven, a dessert spoon, a fork, and a plastic spatula. And of course our egg bowl, which is the first thing we are going to use. So I'm just going to move this out of the way for a sec. And the first thing that we're going to do is crack an egg. And we crack our eggs very differently. We do not crack them on the side because there are lots of germs on the side of our eggshell. So instead we crack it around what we call the belly of the egg, and we do it on our work surface until we hear the egg crack. Once it's cracked, I get my thumbs in and I pull apart, and I don't do it from a height, but I do it from nice and low so that our yolk doesn't pop. I then throw it in the bin and I give my hands a quick wash because I don't want to get any raw egg on my hands. Then I grab my fork and I whisk. And the way that I whisk is I get a flat fork and I lift the egg up. I'm drawing a 0 in the air. And the more we do this, the more bubbles and air we get into our egg, which is going to make it lighter and much more delicious. It's also going to help with our lovely consistency. So once I've done that and I've got lots of air into the egg, I'm then going to pour this into our yogurt. And once we've done that, we're then going to mix our ingredients together. And after we've started to mix, we're then going to start to season it. So I'm going to get some fresh herbs. I've got my parsley and my chives. I'm going to give that an add. I'm going to get some oregano because I'm a really big fan of dried oregano. I'm going to add a little bit of cayenne pepper, which is going to give it a bit of spice, a bit of oomph, and also a lovely red colour. And then finally, I'm going to add a pinch of pepper. This is cracked pepper. And one other ingredient which I almost forgot, which is cheese's best friend, is mustard powder. Even if you don't like mustard powder, you can just get a pinch of it and it's going to enhance the flavour of our cheese, which we will add very shortly. So look at that. Already I'm getting a lovely change of colour, looking nice and fresh. The more that we add, the better it will be. I'm then going to add a little bit of sunflower oil. You can add olive oil, roughly about 1 dessert spoon, or a little bit more if you're making a bigger batch. And we are going to mix this all together and make it really, really nice. The oil is going to allow us to get it out of the bowl much easier, and it's also going to help with the consistency of our muffin. So the next part of my recipe, so I'm going to grab some of the cheese, and I've got 2 lovely cheeses in here. So I've got some mild cheddar and some really, really strong cheddar as well, but you can add goat's cheese or mozzarella, anything that you really like. And I would add a good handful, yeah? Really go for it, don't be afraid. And now I'm going to mix it together, and already our cheese muffin is starting to look really colourful. The next thing I'm going to add is some lovely sweet corn. So I'm going to take a handful of the sweet corn. My hands are nice and clean, as you've seen, so I'm more than happy to use them. I'm also going to get some mushroom. So I'm going to get a bit of it in my hands and I'm going to break it up into nice small bits. Once again, nice clean hands, so it's okay to use them. And once I've done that, I'm then going to add some of the bits which I chopped up. And so I'm going to take my spring onions, which also go really well with cheese. Cheese and onion go very well, and some tomatoes. Once again, you can really add anything that you like to this lovely, easy dish. It is whatever takes your fancy. And once we've reached this stage, the next stage that we're going to do is we're going to get a container and we are going to put some oil into our container. And by doing this, we are going to just spread it all around and get a nice clean base full of oil. Wonderful. And we've got a nice base now, which is going to be much easier to come out when it's fully cooked. The next part of our recipe is we're going to take 2 dessert spoons, so this is when our dessert spoon comes in handy, of plain flour, or you could use self-raising flour. In this case, I'm using plain. So because I'm using plain, I'm going to get a pinch of baking powder, which helps it to rise up, and I'm going to add that to our mix. Now, this is when we need to look for a clingy consistency. And when I say clingy, I mean, well, firstly, we're going to get all of our flour mixed in together, and we are going to lift our fork up into the air, and look, see how it clings to our mixture. It's slowly falling off. If anything, it wants to hold on really nice and tight. And once we've done that, we really simply lift up our bowl and we start to put everything in. Look at that, all of that yumminess, that goodness. Really healthy dish and snack. The only ingredient in there that might be seen as unhealthy is our cheese. So we try not to add too much of the cheese. And this is when our plastic spatula comes in handy, so we get a nice clean bowl. Make sure we get all of that goodness, wipe it off with our fork and spread it around the top. Now, if you want to be a bit cheeky, like I am feeling today, I'm going to get one last pinch of cheese and put it over the top. And when we go off and cook it or bake it, it will have a nice golden brown look to it. And we go and we put it in our oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. It really depends on how much we've made. And finally, we'll be left with a delicious savoury cheese bake. Enjoy.